Welcome to the Following Films podcast, where we dive deep into the world of filmmaking and the creative minds behind today's most exciting projects. I'm your host, Maynard, and today we're sinking our teeth into something truly special. On this episode, I'm joined by writer-director Spider-One and actor-producer Krsy Fox to talk about their latest horror film, Little Bites. If you're a fan of dark, thought-provoking horror, this one's for you. Little Bites tells the chilling story of Mindy, a mother sacrificing herself literally to protect her daughter from a flesh-eating monster. With a cast that includes horror legends Barbara Crampton, Heather Langenkamp, and Bonnie Aarons, and tells a story that cuts deep into the struggles of parenthood. Spider-One, known for Allegoria, brings a deeply personal story to life in this film, while Krsy Fox delivers a powerhouse performance. Plus, with Cher herself on board as executive producer, Little Bites is shaping up to be a must-watch horror event. So let's dig in and hear from Spider-One and Krsy Fox about what went into the making of Little Bites, the horror of parenting, and why this film will leave audiences hungry for more. Little Bites will be available to stream on Shudder, February 21st. I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks. Thank you both so much for taking the time to do this today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks
of course.
for having us.
I have seen Bury the Bride, and so I was excited to see what you guys were going to do next, what you had. And right from the opening shot of this thing told me to just go ahead and let go of whatever I had in mind, let go of any expectations, and just take this for what it is.
It really couldn't be any different than
Yeah,
polar opposite of movies.
I mean they're both horror. That's about it.
There's a couple of threads that maybe connect aesthetically, but yeah, it's so different. So different.
Well, at their heart, I think they're both sort of family dramas. In a way, the way they execute it is wildly different, but what it means to be a family is very much explored in both these films. And I think that you really, in both of them, despite the horror elements, you really do. You're more focused and I think more interested in the human story in both these films. I think more than the gore aspect or the things that the Fango crowd would be attracted to that are there. They're absolutely here in this film, but I think there's a lot more going on beneath the surface.
Thanks. Yeah, I that's absolutely correct. I mean, anytime I write a script, and it's interesting, like the stuff that you, especially in horror, the stuff you think you'd be most excited to write. Oh, her head gets chopped off, and like I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll get to that. Like where I really get invested is in the character elements and the dialogue and in taking things from my own life and people I know and situations I've been in. And I've said it a million times, but but it's a good reference point is that when I was a kid and I discovered Jaws, which has still remained one of my favorite movies ever, I realized I didn't really care if the shark ever showed up because I was so invested with this relationship with these three guys on this boat. And that taught me a lot early on, even if I didn't consciously understand it as a kid, that it isn't about the other stuff. And the other stuff doesn't really matter that much unless you hopefully can put this foundation of engaging people in scenarios, that are in some way, I guess, relatable.
Well, and you look at a film, like Jaws, and you have a bunch of when I was a child, I think it was like 8, 9 when I first saw that film, what to me seemed like these middle-aged ancient men, and now I realize they were like in their early 30s, which is
they're 10 years younger than you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I was like, Robert Shaw was like 52. What? I thought he was 100.
Exactly. So, but still, as a kid, I could still watch a film like that and be completely invested in it and completely buy into it, and that really does always come down to performance. And Krsy, about that opening shot, that's something that you're told as an actor. You don't look down the barrel. That's not something you do. You don't stare directly.
Oh, I tell her all the time.
And so, but that's what your opening thing is. You're looking directly at the camera, and it completely puts the audience at a place of distrust with you because you're automatically breaking one of the rules of film right away. So we kind of this is going to be squarely on your shoulders and we don't trust you right away. So can you talk about maybe taking on a role like this? Because it's definitely a layered and nuanced role.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, I agree. It's funny working with Spider on, I don't know how many films, I guess 3 that you've directed me. That seems to be something he really likes. And I actually really like right down the barrel, like those moments. It's hard to explain, but as an actor, you're like really alone with yourself and like your thoughts and your emotions. And it's like, for some reason, when that happens, there's nobody else in the room. And it's a weird, strange thing. And you have no idea what it looks like and you don't really care. And yeah, I think like specifically Little Bites, when I read the script and it was one of those things I'm like, I have to do this. I connect to this so much. We have a daughter together. And just the level of abuse and struggle and judgment that this woman gets, and knowing the different layers that I would have to bring to the character, and all of those moments where she wants to cry and scream, but she just trying to keep it all in. And that was just like one of my favorite jobs as an actor I've ever got to do. And I just really fell into it. And it was like, we don't get a lot of shoot days. So day 1, I think it was the scenes with Bonnie Aarons and then me telling my daughter that there's a monster downstairs. And I was like, okay, I'm setting, I have to keep this character consistent. I have to jump right in. And this is, I knew that conversation with my daughter. I was like, this is a trailer moment. So it was like the pressure was on from day 1. And so I just sort of let myself exist in this dark hole and let all of this abuse and these people coming at me just really affect me and like sink into my skin. And it took me a few months to like get my happy self back. But I felt really rewarded as an actor. And I think I just connected so much to the subject matter, being a parent. And I also have, some people take this as, it's a metaphor for addiction or abuse. And I've had friends who've struggled with addiction and I've seen, what they've gone through in their life. And we've all had different forms of abuse, in our life, and just trying to be strong and fight through it. So I really took a lot of different elements and put it into this character. And yeah, hopefully it came across, because it certainly was a really fun ride for me.
It absolutely does. And honestly, the meaning of the film, the theme of it, I guess, it's not even really to me apparent until the last moment of the film, where I had an idea of what I thought this movie was about and the idea of addiction and trauma and those kinds of things. But really, I think it's about the other side of that and the idea of self-acceptance and moving through that and accepting who you are and self-love. And that's how you get to the other side of it. And for the movie with an ending like this, I just had the biggest fucking smile on my face at the end of this thing.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad I definitely. And I think, as a parent, finally allowing, you're always wanting to protect your kid and just allowing your kid to stand beside you instead of always trying to protect them. It's a big moment, I think, for parents. And our daughter's 5. We're not quite there, but it's definitely scary and it's something I'm going to have to do, and I'm going to have to let go and trust her that I did my job, And so it was just, all of it was very overwhelming and in a really good way. And certainly all the stuff with the monster, that was very easy to be afraid and to be emotional. It was a terrifying scenario. That basement was dark. You couldn't see anything. He was really scary. And the actor was very method, John. So it was just a very intense film all the time. I felt like I was having a heart attack almost every day.
Well, it definitely comes across. And Spider, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the monster specifically, because your approach to the monster, the design, and then the performance are 2 things I would never have put together, because the voice almost sounds like something I want this guy to read audiobooks to me at night.
Yeah.
I want that in the back of my head giving me the creeps. And so, but it's not overtly scary. In fact, the scariest moments are really with you and Chaz, with Krsy and Chaz in that moment. And it's where you're playing against what, we don't want you to go through with this thing. We don't want you to get steeped down to this level. But could you talk about the approach to the monster a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, that was honestly one of the funnest things to develop for this movie, but also most challenging. I mean, anyone who's seen the movie, it's a monster called Agyar. And, from the get-go, it's an acting job. I mean, it is not a a creature growling in the corner. It's not, a creepy little kid. It is a fully formed human person, even though it's a monster. So there had to be this careful balance between, physically creating a creature, but not so heavy prosthetics, and that it got in the way of John being able to perform. And so that was, I guess the closest thing that, I could use as an early reference point was Nosferatu, because, I remember seeing the original silent film and even photos of that version as a little kid and finding it terrifying because it is quite human, but yet it's not, so we really wanted to find that sweet spot with that. And then in terms of the performance and the voice, it was, we had gone back and forth with John a few times about how we wanted him to sound, and John's from New York. He's just got a New York accent, so we couldn't do that. And we had played around with the traditional sort of Eastern European thing, and that felt a bit contrived. And so we ended up, because we wanted Aguiar to always be putting on this air of that he was smarter than Mindy, that he was better than Mindy. So we had landed on this, very pompous, almost, I call it a theater accent. It's not quite British. It's this, I think there's a term for it in early film that I can't remember what it is, but it is
oh, well, I know exactly. It's something Atlantic. It's
yeah. And so it's almost like I think we had referenced like Peter O'Toole and people that would just always wanted to put on this air of superior, mental superiority. So once we had found that, it all made sense, because, the purpose of Aguiar was to try to convince Mindy of what a waste of all her effort is in raising a child, and just, it's not worth it. And she'll leave you eventually, and all this kind of stuff. So, I really was excited when we found that. And once you frame that up and you start, put him in that dark room, and, one other really important part of Aguiar was how we lit him. And it was all based on Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now.
Of course, all the darkness.
So shadow. I always loved that sort of slow reveal. We only saw the top of his head, and we saw the side of his face, and eventually we see who he truly is at the end of the movie. But we wanted to create this mystery around him, and I always loved the way that they handled Colonel Kurtz in Apocalypse Now. So it was a direct reference point to that for sure.
Well, it's you can feel those references beyond watching other slasher films, which I don't even think this is. I wouldn't call this a slasher film in any way, or it's a horror film, but it is something that you're right. It's about parenting. This is something about that fear of putting that kid into the world, because I have a 9-year-old and a 14-year-old. And the thing you want to do is just create human beings that can go out in the world and be kind. And, that their presence in the world is a net positive, that they're not making the world a worse place by them being here. And you feel that way as a parent, but you got to make sure that when they go into society, that's the truth of it. And it's so scary to make sure.
And also that the concept of them eventually being there for you, which was a big part of the theme of this, when, Heather Langenkamp's character sort of bestows this, this knowledge of these 3 stages of parenthood. And the third one is that they now stand beside you. And, and you start to learn that as your parents grow older, you're the one, I do it now. I drive my parents around, you suddenly become the parent in a certain degree of respect. And so, Aguiar, not giving anything away, but is completely trying to convince Mindy that this is a false idea, and this will never happen, and it's a waste of her energy. And being a parent is just self-serving ego trip, and so, when you mention the end of the film, like the true end of the film, which is almost like a sort of post-credit moment.
Yeah, the sort of
I haven't watched the movie in a while, but every time I see that last scene, I literally get choked up, because I just think there's something. It's 2 words, and it just is so magical about that they proved him wrong. And I don't want to give it away for anybody who hasn't seen it, but so it's just that moment is a very, very special.
Well, I won't give away anything about this, but I think you've created a movie here that it's not about that twist, though. It's not about that revelation of what you've been watching the whole time. This is something that to me is spoiler proof because it really is about the emotional journey with these characters of, spending that time with them. And you could explain it in 15 words and give that away, but it does nothing to the actual emotional journey of spending this time with this family. Because I think that
Appreciate
that's, you can't really ruin that. And I'm really, that's a compliment because this is not something that is just if the plot twist happens at the end or that little reveal happens at the end and that's all you had, then that's empty calories. That's cotton candy.
Sure.
This isn't that. There's actually something to go back to here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
No, thank you both so much for taking the time to do this today. I know we're right at time right now. I really appreciate it. And congratulations. You guys got something really special here.
So nice to hear.
you.
Thanks for having us. Great talk.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping there's more to come because between this, Bury the Bride, I don't know, it's going to be like a Western musical. What do you guys have in store next?
Well, no, we actually have, we've already shot the next film. This is how we work. So, we don't have time to get into that, but there is another film on the way. So it's
perfect.
Pretty
I'm
exciting
just
stuff.
Greedy American consumer. I want more. So I need more for the shelf. So I appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
So good to meet you. Thank you so
You
much.
as well. Thank you. Take care.
Get cell phone ring lit up on a nice night. I gotta say you got a cheese grater, boys. Acting like I meant to hurt, screaming like I meant to hurt. But bitch, I don't work for you anymore. Bitch, I don't work for you anymore. And it's hot inside of the sun. I could put you there, and it's hot inside of the sun. I would put you there. Just might explode. Acting like I meant to hurt, screaming like I meant to hurt. But bitch, I don't work for you anymore. Bitch, I don't work for you anymore. And it's hot inside of the sun. I would put you there. And it's hot inside of the sun. I will put you there.